Terrifying night in the woods. My best friend was taken. I used to love exploring the woods. That was before I moved to that small town in Missouri and met Zach Mays. We were both 9, both endlessly curious. Zach and I quickly became best friends, spending entire days roaming around, daring each other to go deeper into the woods. Our parents warned us not to, of course, but that only added to the thrill. One day we discovered a thick patch of thorny woods, darker than the rest, wild and almost impenetrable. The thorns were so dense that no one could get through, and after a while, we forgot about it. But the night before Halloween, Zach brought it up. He figured that since everything had dried up, we could finally get through. Reluctantly, I agreed. We grabbed our flashlights and some supplies, snuck out, and headed to the woods under a blood-red moon. We soon found ourselves at the edge of that foreboding patch, but the thorns were gone, replaced by a path leading in. It was like the forest itself was inviting us. Zach and I exchanged a look and, without a word, walked forward. As we moved deeper, the forest grew silent, our footsteps the only sound. I felt an inexplicable dread creeping up, but Zach seemed determined. The trees opened into a clearing with a lake at the center, a lake that shouldn't have been there. I pulled out the map I had brought, and there was no sign of any water near our property. But we were standing right in front of it. Zach walked toward the lake, fascinated, and called me over. When I joined him, I saw what he meant. Our reflections weren't there, just the surroundings, only darker and wrong. The trees in the reflection looked like they were covered in flesh. I felt sick, but Zach didn't seem fazed. He grabbed a stick, knelt by the water's edge, and poked the surface. Suddenly, he lost his balance and fell in. I waited, watching the ripples disappear. Minutes passed, and Zach didn't resurface. Panic gripped me. I shone my flashlight into the water, but it was no use. Then I noticed something. Zach's flashlight was somehow visible in the water, near the edge of the forest reflection. It didn't make sense, but I was beyond logic. My best friend was gone, and I had to go after him. I took a deep breath, stepped to the edge, and jumped in. The world turned inside out. It felt like my senses had been ripped away. I emerged gasping, pulling myself out onto a different shore in a different forest. The trees were coated in pulsing, fleshy tendrils, the air stale and thick. In the dim light, I saw Zach's flashlight and his broken shears on the ground, each blade smeared with blood. I picked them up, clutching them for comfort as I moved forward, calling out for him. Eventually, I heard him scream, a sound that froze me to the core. I followed the bloodstains to an old, rusted barn, a twisted version of the one near our house. Inside, I found Zach's body hanging from a meat hook, his eyes open, filled with terror. He held out his phone, mouthing "get out" before he died. I grabbed it, and through my tears, I noticed a photo on his screen. It showed a creature, human-like but twisted, its body skeletal and wrong. I wanted to run, but something moved in the shadows. The creature stepped forward, eyes dark as coal, mouth filled with razor-sharp teeth. I fumbled with Zach's phone, accidentally triggering the flash. The creature stumbled back, screeching, and I took off running, knowing it wasn't alone. More of them followed, their shrieks echoing through the night as I stumbled toward the lake. One of the creatures caught up, digging its claws into my leg. I kicked and fought, grabbing a flashlight from Zach's bag and shone it into its face. It screeched in pain and let me go. Without looking back, I crawled to the water's edge and dove in, desperate to escape. When I surfaced, I was back on the familiar shore. I scrambled out, turning to make sure nothing followed. The woods around me were still silent. I limped home and in a daze, told the police everything. They found nothing. No lake, no barn, no sign of Zach. They said he must have been attacked by an animal, and I imagined it all out of shock. We left that town soon after, but I never escaped the memories. Even now, on sleepless nights, I still hear that creature's screech echoing from the woods, hungry and waiting.